Moving on here for Seconds Out with Kalle Sauerland, deadlifting, I think it is 400 pounds, Kalle Sauerland. You must be sore today.
405 pounds, yeah, yesterday morning. I was sore last night because that was actually around 5 a.m., 5:30 a.m. yesterday morning, so by the evening I was already sore, but going to get up to 4:15 next week.
I don't know how you find the energy.
You know, like eat right, sleep right, and the energy comes by itself.
I had to really kind of force myself out of bed today at like 8, not to come to the press conference, but to come to the gym and do a workout. I find it really hard.
Yeah, once you get into it, you'll find it comes easier and easier. You just got to get into that rhythm. I've been doing it now 16 years, so yeah, those early morning workouts, they sort of set my day up.
All about forming habits, and Sam Eggington has a habit of being in a Fight of the Year contender at minimum at least once per year in a fight against Abass Baraou.
I was about to say, Sam Eggington, I got some stats sent up to me last night. I was looking at them on the way up here today. He's already had 2 Fight of the Year. He's won it Fight of the Year twice, hasn't he?
I think he has.
Yeah. So I don't know many fighters who've managed to do that in a career when he's only 30 years old. So yeah, no, I mean, stage is set here. Friday night is, first of all, terrestrial boxing, Channel 5. That's always great because you've got a big advertisement for boxing. But what, you know, when you look at it, you've got England, Germany, European Championship. You've got Sam Eggington. You know that Sam Eggington is never in a bad fight, does not know the reverse gear. You've got the German, bronze medalist, world champion of the amateurs. Huge pedigree fighter, can really punch as well. The bookies, Ladbrokes, are calling it 50-50 down the middle. That's not me saying that as the promoter. That's the bookie. But given it, there's no difference between the two of them. So it's super exciting stuff. And throw into that, you've got the return of Matty Harris at heavyweight with Peter Fury in his corner. Fantastic addition to the team. You've got Tom Welland and Dan Howard, for me, 2 of the best prospects of the year. Actually, I think Boxing News has done a feature of both of them as people to watch in the sport. So you've got a bit of everything here. A massive night in what will be a sold-out Telford Arena on Friday night.
I remember you saying a couple of years back when Matty Harris was coming through with Hosea Stewart and you brought in a new raft of signings, you were saying that, look, we know that not all of these will come through, but in amongst the pack you'll find 1 or 2 gems. Do you feel like you found that with Matty with a bit more crafting, and then as well with Tom too?
Yeah, and actually, as brutal as it sounds, after 24 years in boxing, you have those cycles of signing fighters, and some of them obviously don't make it. Still full respect to them as well for even, you know, having to step into that ring is such a huge achievement. But then you look at the ones who almost made it. So you've got ones who just flat out didn't make it, right? Again, massive respect. Then you've got the ones who make it, and then you've got the ones who almost made it. And I was very worried last year. I saw straight away that Matty's got talent. This guy is definitely not going to be in that first category of not going to make it. But it went to his head almost a little bit to start with. It was like, you know, those showreel knockouts, you know, they're nice, yeah, but not being funny. Against the opponents you get in your first few fights, they're expected. Yeah. Sorry to say that, mate. That's what's expected. So don't start blowing. I'm blowing smoke because I'm called a promoter. I'm promoting you. But don't blow your own smoke. Don't start believing your own smoke until you've actually been there. So you had to raise the bar a bit on the opponent, but nothing crazy. And he loses. I was in the States. We were promoting the States, showing the States the same night. Someone texted me and said, "It can't be. It just can't be. What's he? Yeah, he must have injured himself." No, just gassed. What? Right? So I'm so pissed off because he's got so much potential. The kid, the hands, the height, the speed, the power. That guy can be a phenomenal. I mean, I'm talking a world champion level. Not at world champion, but can be world championship level. So I'm looking at it, thinking, and then I'm like, wow, let's watch what he does. And for me, the appointment of Peter Fury says it all. It's fantastic. It tells me that the kid has gone to a place, he's thought, wherever he's taken that advice and guidance from, it's been fantastic, because for me, Peter Fury and Tyson Fury together rewrote the way heavyweight boxing looks today. And that famous night in Germany, beating Vladimir Klitschko. So he's now in a setup that knows how to get the most out of that talent. Again, I can't put him in that he's done it, because he hasn't done it, but delighted to have him back. So, and again, we'll hopefully look back and laugh in a few decades from now with a nice cigar on the porch and say, remember then you lost to that guy up in Edinburgh and I was in Nashville ranting and fuming about it. And now you got the 4 world titles around your waist, hopefully, and he's one that isn't taught. It can go that far. It's very fine lines, and it's not just talent, it's then decision making, your decision making at that moment in time of crisis. So for me, a fantastic reaction.
Certainly, I'll be watching his next steps in Telford on Friday night, as will people on Channel 5 and DAZN across the world. I wanted to widen the scope to the wider news in boxing, and I've seen that you were on TalkSport recently, just clarifying that the next steps for Chris Eubank Jr. Now, I believe that on the table are potentially the likes of Kell Brook and Alimkhanuly. My colleague Josh Green spoke to your brother Nissa, and it was said that you'd presented the option of maybe having Canelo and Chris Eubank Jr. Squaring off, as Canelo is seeking an opponent. Will that option be brought to Eddie Hearn? Should Eddie Hearn confirm the signing of Canelo Alvarez back to match him with what's happening with PBC? Will you look to pitch that to Hearn and try and get that over the line?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, everything we discuss is with Team Eubank, and when we speak to Team Eubank, we just put the options that we can see on the table there. We haven't actually really talked in any detail around Canelo, because I think that the name popped up. Everyone thought it was Benavidez, and then I think there was a bit of a jolt in the negotiations there. Then, Eubank's name was thrown in, probably by their side, in order to manipulate a negotiation, or to move a negotiation, let's say. And, I think that's a strategy, we all use in boxing sometimes, throw another opponent's name in to move another side. But at the same time, Cinco de Mayo, right? I mean, unless I'm reading the script wrong here, Mongoya's done. Yeah. But I disagree with some of the things that have been said this week. Like, it's not an interesting fight. Eubank, no, of course it is. I mean, it unlocks a massive amount of pay-per-views in the UK. But at the same time, I'm very realistic about it in boxing. And, you've got Cinco de Mayo, you've got the possibility of there's 2 Latinos out there, Benavidez and Mongoya, who could be fighting the Latino king on Cinco de Mayo, which is the biggest Latino holiday and most famous boxing day of the year for the Latinos. So, I'd say we're slightly short on the race on that front there.
September?
Yeah, of course, it's always out there. But, again, I think Junior wants to be out before September. So, we're not going to plan the year around hoping that Canelo wants to fight Eubank and then leave it down to that. That's, I think Eubank Jr. has his own business model in the UK,
Between Brook and Alimkhanuly, which has been spoken about, which is the most likely option?
That's a question for Team Eubank. It's not, I can just line the options up and try and execute them. There's pluses on both sides of those. I think a Kell Brook will go down as a legendary British knight, whereas a Janibek fight obviously cements world titles. It ticks other boxes in the States maybe. He's carried by ESPN, but at the same time isn't an ESPN household name either, so let's not blow that one up too much. I think from a sort of legacy point of view, would definitely be Brook. But that's again down to what Junior's ambitions are.
Should Ben win the appeal, which we believe is to be towards the end, or at least the decision is to come through this week, would Ben become the front runner?
I don't know about front runner. It would certainly revive lots of interviews like this and lots of discussions like this and negotiations and stuff like that. I'm sure it would be inevitable if it wouldn't.
Moving on to, I heard you in a couple of other interviews suggesting that Josh Kelly is coming up against a big name. I'm going to be direct here, Kalle. I've heard whispers that big name might potentially be Liam Smith, who fought Chris Eubank Jr. Can you say if there's anything to that, or are you going to be throwing ice on the fire that it might not be Liam Smith?
Well, Josh is in a great position because he's number one in the world. He's number one WBO, IBO, I think. Liam Smith is out there. Also, I believe, looking for a fight. So, yeah, it all makes sense. There's also options abroad, which are quite interesting as well. So,
can you confirm that Liam Smith is on the table for Josh Kelly?
Liam Smith is definitely an option out there, yeah, for sure. So's Kell Brook. It's also an option out there.
Kalle, just moving on, I know you're not working with Hrgovic, but the likes of Daniel Dubois are calling out Hrgovic, and I feel that might be a little bit early if Daniel Dubois is to take on Filip Hrgovic as that fight's to happen. Do you feel the same way?
I don't know how much Daniel's sort of developed. I've obviously saw the Jarrell Miller fight. I think he's added massively since the Joe Joyce loss in terms of resilience, in terms of, and again, the Joe Joyce loss, no one knows that feeling of that eye injury that he had that night. So that's what happened. But he showed against Jarrell Miller. Jarrell wasn't at his best, but at the same time, Jarrell Miller's a very good boxer. He wasn't the right fighting weight, I think, for Miller. But Daniel really put on a great performance that night. The question is, how much has he improved from when I've seen them spar together, Hrgovic and Dubois, and it was pretty one-sided. But that was a long time ago, and it was sparring. Did he have an off day? Was it a different tactic they used? So can't really read into it too much. I do think that Dubois has really improved, and he's improving. So do that fight now or not? I don't know. In heavyweights, it always depends about the money. Is the money right for the fight? Do you want to take the risk? It's risk-reward.
Stands in a bit of a weird situation, doesn't it? Because he could step in for the fight to be the replacement if Fury ends up pulling out for the second time round, which is a good position to be in, but also an uncertain position, I guess.
Explain that one again.
Hrgovic is likely to be the replacement opponent. Yeah. Well, it's in the contract that Hrgovic is. So it's a very, very uncertain position to be. Like I wonder. I know that again, like I said, you're not working with him, but how do you prepare your fighter for something like that?
Yeah. So first of all, when you have those, and similar with the WBSS at the time, was we had always reserve opponents and substitutes so that we knew that the fight would actually take place, and a few times we had to use them. I think that he'll look. I know Filip. He'll, and he's a great boxing mind, Filip. He will want someone somehow that can replicate something similar to Usyk. Now that's clearly going to be very, very difficult. So I don't know if he just will be a standby and just prepare for Usyk and then not box, or does he take a very light opponent and I don't know, but to take a proper opponent but also be ready for Usyk, that's a tricky one, isn't it?
Shifting over to the crossover scene, the Misfits boxing scene. Rooney has now poured a little bit of water on the fire that was him potentially boxing. We've seen him donning the gloves beforehand to an unsuccessful end, but it seems like Misfits boxing are looking for those new stars, looking for those new names, and to pinch someone or get someone like Rooney would be that big name there. How close and how serious was that, and what can you say to other names of the ilk of Rooney that are coming into the Misfits scene?
Yeah, I mean, look, first of all, the Misfits team doesn't. It's not like it needs new names. It's the numbers it does with the names on it. And forget KSI. The other names on there do numbers that is mind-boggling. But it never wants to stop growing in terms of attracting people like Wayne Rooney. I mean, England captain. But there's other footballers who've reached out. Interesting ones. I think it's also about characters. I think the character has to be right. You couldn't imagine Harry Kane doing it, really, could you? I don't know, actually. Harry would be a good story. He'd have a good jab, Harry. But Rooney would be that sort of fit, wouldn't he? You look at him and think, you know, he's the type of fellow who likes a row, looks like he likes a row. It would be a great fit, but at the same time, look, you know, we haven't spoken one-to-one. We had a representative of his reach out, ask if there was interest on our side. I said, stupid question. Of course there is, but that's all it was. And you know, I get a paper gets hold of that and makes a big story out, but it's quite natural, isn't it?
You've got the 2-for-1 coming up between Fox the G and Evil Hero and Most Wanted. Now, I'll be direct in saying to you, Kalle, I stand as one of those people that are concerned about the 2-for-1 fight, being that the nature is 2 versus 1. And the direction maybe that's going and looking to innovate, which I respect, but wondering if that's the right direction. What can you do to say to maybe soothe my fears that we're not maybe putting people in a bit of danger?
I look at everything first as that's too dangerous and too risky, but I'm not the one who takes the call on that. That's the commission. That's the commission over there. So it's not, but just so you understand, I don't know if you've got the concept right, it's not 2 guys in a ring against 1.
It's a tag concept, right?
So they're chipped in and out. And actually, if you look at boxing in a gym with sparring at the top level, that's quite often the case. Not the tagging, but they'll switch rounds. Sure. So it sounds a lot more like 2-on-1 than it is if you look at it from a traditional perspective. At the same time, we don't muck around when it comes to health and safety, so that's something that the board or in this case in America it's the commissions who decide that's okay, that's approved, that's not approved, etc. So we'll look at it, of course, first as a TV format, but then the be-all and end-all is, does the commission approve it? Is it medically approved? Is it insurable? Yeah? Those are the things we look at. So those are where the experts step in, and I just go step back, and you know that's not exactly my area.
In terms of your area, looking to secure that KSI versus Jake Paul fight. KSI has signalled his interest in that again, as he has done, and a lot of people want to see that fight, but wondering if it ever will materialise in our lifetimes.
Look, what promoter on planet Earth, and they tell me all day long, you know, don't want to do this fight in that crossover space. You know, come on, you know, KSI Jake Paul does more pay-per-views than any other fight on planet Earth, right? So, would I be interested in doing it for Misfits? Absolutely, absolutely. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I'm not the one fighting. Waiting for marching orders.
Have any talks been rekindled at all between the two?
Not at the moment, no.
Finally, Kalle, next weekend we have Anthony Joshua versus Francis Ngannou. A lot of people kind of looking at Francis Ngannou in different perspective after he sent Tyson Fury crashing under canvas. Didn't get the win, but he got a lot of kudos in his display. Do you feel that he can do anything to upset the apple cart and maybe defeat Anthony Joshua come next week?
It's heavyweight boxing. Ngannou is a fantastic puncher. Well, in MMA or UFC they call it the striker, but for us boxing purists, he's a phenomenal puncher, absolutely phenomenal. Hugely dangerous, especially those first few rounds. You saw what happened to Tyson Fury, put on his backside, and that's, you know, the lineal heavyweight champ. Yeah. So if that doesn't make you excited about the prospect of an upset here, then I don't know what would, because heavyweight's always, anyways, you know, the biggest upsets happen at heavyweight for exactly that reason. But we've now actually got a guy, I don't know, how much of an upset would it actually be? I mean, I've seen he's ranked number 10 by the WBC now. Don't know where Joshua's ranked at the WBC. Was he number 3 or 4, I guess?
I think it might be 2 or 3.
Yeah, somewhere around the 3 mark. So 3 against 10, it's not the biggest upset in the world, is it? So it's not really. But I expect Joshua to ride the storm and beat him down the stretch. But it's heavyweights. That's what we're going to be watching. Don't blink.
Kalle, pleasure's all mine. Thanks for speaking to us, sir.